Hi everyone, thank you so much for liking, for subscribing, for sharing this video, and also to our previous video. So once again, we are back to Global Virtual Summit together with St. Louis University, CREEP Center, SLU DTI Fab Lab, to my team in Unifinity.io, to TBI. Hi guys, thank you, thumbs up, thank you so much for all of your shares, support, and everything, including the empowerment that you're sharing to our team and to Dash Philippines and to London Outsource. Thank you guys for all the time and volunteering into this wonderful summit. So thank you so much. Now we have a very special guest from Makati City. He is an entrepreneur who fully embraced cryptocurrency lifestyle or crypto lifestyle of blockchain, and he runs now BlockchainSpace located in Makati. So let me welcome here longtime entrepreneur Mr. Peter Ng into our show. Hi Peter.
Hi Veronica, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you to the Global Virtual Summit for hosting this.
Well, we're glad to have you as well on our show. So most of our viewers here right now are all entrepreneurs, startups, and as well as students who wanted to know more about the business and who wanted to understand why did we switch our traditional life into a digital space. So that is a very interesting topic right now since we are all currently in lockdown, and I believe you have a lot of stories for you to share to all of our viewers.
Yeah, definitely. So actually, as you can tell from my accent, I'm not originally from the Philippines. I actually originally was brought up in the UK. I actually spent some years traveling around Europe and actually working in Europe before moving to the Philippines. And it was actually a Swiss firm that I used to work for in financial risk data that sent me out to the Philippines to set up an office here and build a team. So, I mean, just to give you a summary of like what brought me to setting up BlockchainSpace here in the Philippines. So in the years that I was establishing the office for the Swiss firm, I was actually based in BGC. So as you can imagine, BGC back in 2013 was just a few buildings. And right in front of my eyes, I could see basically for the very first time, a whole city being built right in front of you. And I felt like this, I got very excited. I saw a lot of opportunity. It's not something that I had thought about previously, being based in Europe, setting up your own companies are very costly and a big risk. And then it's just something that I felt was the right time. And, I looked at basically what were the potential outcomes of like trying to set up my own firms here in the Philippines, and realized that actually it's not going to be so costly. And if there was ever a time to learn and to try it, it would basically be then. And so for the last 4 years, I've basically been running my own startups here.
That's amazing. You've been here quite long now. I mean, I remember that time when they started building BGC back from the scratch, when it's completely an empty land, and then suddenly you see now BGC with lots of building new condos and new developments over the year. So that's interesting that you have been here for quite some time. So you're more Filipino now, are you?
I am indeed, and I'm actually studying at Ateneo right now and finishing my MBA. So that's something else that kind of glues me to the country.
Oh, that's very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that, Peter. So me and Peter, we met a year ago in Asian Blockchain Summit during that first event that was hosted by one of the Filipina organizer as well. So we supported the event. And then from there on, I found out that they are running BlockchainSpace, wherein they invite more onto the crypto entrepreneurs or speakers or companies that are actually presenting their projects. So can you please tell us more about the challenges that you have faced when you were starting your business or your startup venture here in the Philippines? Because I believe there could be a lot of challenges you have faced, especially your foreign living in the Philippines.
Yeah, definitely. So let me just say that this has basically been a progression. It hasn't really been like a huge deep dive, and every time I do kind of activities in the whole kind of blockchain industry, it's more like dipping into resources that kind of already exist. And so I'm not taking a huge gamble or a huge risk. So just to give you some background, I've been a fan basically of co-working spaces for some years, actually before I even came to the Philippines and before co-working even was a thing here. I was a big fan of collaborative kind of workspaces and kind of entrepreneurs getting together and helping each other out. And so about 4 years ago, I invested in a co-working space here called Accelerate, and I became a partner locally. And what that gave me was an opportunity, basically, to partner up with Accelerate to use basically the resources that Accelerate already had. So things like event spaces, co-working seats, business relationships, and access to community. And these were very key for basically a new industry like blockchain to kind of start. So we needed really a starting point, and it was very raw and very early. And what we would do at the very start was basically just host meetups. So they were very basic. We used to just invite 20, 30 people to come to our space. We would offer some beers and some pizza. And then we would invite different speakers to come in and share their stories in the field to people that wanted to learn more about how to get into this whole space. We've been doing that now for around 2.5 years and kind of never looked back.
Oh, that's a long period of time. I think you're right. I mean, I remember when coming back to some of your events and you had this big pizza day, and sometimes they even offer drinks and beers. So they invite a lot of people all the time and in Makati. So how is it now is the situation? Because you mentioned you're in a co-working space and right now we are currently locked down. How is the current situation of a co-working spaces and so as your business? How do you run your business now?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So a part of basically our revenue stream was actually event management previously. So that one opportunity, I guess, in the blockchain industry right now is that there are different blockchain companies or cryptocurrency exchanges that want to come into the Philippines and they want to make their presence known to the community. And so our space used to be an anchor point for these people to come in and introduce themselves. But now, as you can imagine, people don't want to, well, there is no opportunity to meet in real life, and rather we have to meet virtually. And so that's actually been kind of a steep learning curve for us, is how to build a stronger digital presence and actually how to transition all of these meetups and webinars, online, so that people could continue to do, we could continue our advocacy of introducing new people to the community, but also at the same time, what we were exploring, basically, we've been testing different types of tools, things like live streaming and doing pre-recordings to see which would work better.
Mm. Well, I understand that, Peter. I mean, every business has now already transitioned to the virtual events, and even Iman's blockchain summit, and they also converted into a virtual summit right now. So there are different organizers that are already changing their game into virtual space. So that's I think that would be the new norm in the next following months since during the transition. How is it now in Makati, the situation when it comes to the businesses like restaurants are closed, all of these other places. So because I'm from Bulacan, so maybe you can share us something more about it.
Yeah, sure. So I'm quite limited to the Makati area. And to be honest, I haven't really traveled much during the quarantine period. So we are basically within a residential compound, and within the actual residential compound, initially, it was just grocery and pharmacy that was open, and then eventually they started opening more restaurants and more shops. But to be honest, there aren't that many people going out, and especially the local mall is not full of foot traffic, so you don't see that many people actually going out shopping, and I'm sure we won't see that for a while. So like you said, the new norm is probably going to be shifting more towards online and virtual.
Yep. So when it comes to that, what you mentioned as well earlier, not just to your current situation now, that with limited movement and then people are now switching to virtual, is there any advice that you can offer as well to the other organizers or even to the other technopreneurs like yourself who wanted to know more about what you're doing in blockchain space?
Yeah, I mean, if you're interested in learning about blockchain and cryptocurrencies, so what we do currently is actually we run a beginners course, a workshop called Bitcoin for Beginners. That's actually a private seminar that we host on Google Meets right now on a weekly basis. We do that together with some partners in Malaysia called Bitcoin Malaysia. We also, right now, we run a live stream every Saturday, and that's called a weekly crypto update. And that's where we try and share kind of some of the more recent happenings within the space. Things like we talk about Bitcoin halving, talk about COVID's impact on the cryptocurrency industry, and anything that's kind of relevant for this period of time. So yeah, I would highly recommend to follow us on our social channels, which I hope you can share. And yeah, we basically aim to be an education hub for keeping people safe in the industry. As you can imagine, there's being a nascent industry and also having all these huge gains from a lot of ICOs and other kind of crypto investments in the last years has kind of tarnished this industry. And so we want to help people to feel safe navigating this space and to show you exactly what are the projects that are being worked on and how to be able to spot which ones are legitimate projects and which ones are scams.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Peter. So you heard Peter, guys. So all you need to do is just click the link below on the chat box. So we will be dropping the links here, and go ahead and visit the Facebook page of Blockchain Space for you to know more about the beginners of Bitcoin or introductions to cryptocurrencies and industries. So Peter, with your experiences into the space itself, so how was the first time that you felt when you bought your first Bitcoin? So when was the first time you buy your Bitcoin? So maybe that's a good story to tell too.
Yeah, sure. I always love that story because it always teaches me a lesson. So originally, the whole reason I got into the whole industry and what's kicked this all off is actually my landlord was actually the founder of one of the first Bitcoin brokerages in the country. So Bitcoin wasn't really a thing in 2013. And it was something that was actually tainted and kind of connected with kind of illicit trading, so kind of more illegal activities at that time. So there was a lot of e-commerce taking place, and Bitcoins were being used actually for basically some illegal transactions on the Silk Road. And so that was some years back, but there were some people that really saw the potential of the technology, and these my former landlord was one of those people, and so he was mining Bitcoin back then. He understood what the value would be in the future, and so I remember very distinctly actually the first time he ever told me about it was we were eating a bowl of ramen for over a dinner, and I asked him, "So what do you do as my landlord? What do you do during the daytime?" And then he was telling me, "Yes, I'm trying to set up my own Bitcoin company." And I really didn't understand what he was talking about. I didn't understand anything about mining. I didn't understand anything about blockchain itself, or any types of cryptocurrencies at the time. And it was actually very hard to read up about the space. Since then, it's been quite a few years, and so actually my first Bitcoin purchase was back in 2013. But sadly, I sold all of that before the craze hit in 2017. So I sold it all in 2016. And so you can imagine I've been struggling to try and get that all back in 2017. But what was more fascinating is really, in 2017, even then, I didn't really read up too much about uh, what is blockchain, what is the technology, how exactly is this going to be useful, and why does Bitcoin exist? And I wasn't really asking those kind of questions. I just saw the hype. I saw that the price was going up, and like many other people, I wanted to be a part of it. But eventually, by the end of 2017, I had got so into the industry that I had done so much reading, like there were so many white papers out there. And then suddenly there was just a huge amount of literature that you could read up about blockchain and cryptocurrencies. And that's something that didn't exist in years before. And then finally, I was actually able to grasp it. And I was like, okay, I have to get involved in this, because it just what it stands for, this inclusive digital cash, that doesn't require any central authority to govern it, and it's all inclusive, and anyone can participate. That was something that just kind of resonated with me, and it's something that I feel very strongly now for.
Well, that's a wonderful story. So you heard it, guys. So his story from 2013, that was, I guess Bitcoin was around 40 to $80. I think that was the time that was just playing around that, or less than $100. Yes, I remember back when I started in 2015, when I found out about crypto, and 2016 Bitcoin was around $400 to $600 during the time. So I believe if you have kept that, it's a lot of Bitcoin by now in the price.
But it's
So
okay. It's the cost of learning.
time you learned a lot more, and you started diving into the technology itself. And right now what you guys are doing are very educational, and I really believe that that movement of what you're doing on the virtual education thing that you're doing on blockchain space, that a lot of people right now are getting scammed over and over the Bitcoin hype, because they really don't understand what are the importance and the benefits of Bitcoin and blockchain. So what are the difference between two, and how blockchain is much more powerful in terms into offering solutions to different industries. So, guys, you could join and participate to all of their education shows, and I believe most of you guys will learn more about from the speakers that they are inviting most of the time, right?
Absolutely.
Any advice that you can now give to a technopreneur? So these are the people or the startups that are based in CRIV Center and SLU. So let me just tell you more about what they have. They have a group of startups where they offer different types of innovative projects. Now they incubate them and they teach them as well, and they help them get to the next phase, wherein getting to the investor, at the same time getting the project moved on. So is there any good advice that you can offer to our startups, since you have a lot more experience as well that you can share to them?
Yeah, so I mean the space, especially for blockchain, is still very immature. So it's a space where things are constantly evolving, and there are new technologies coming out all the time. So I think number one is like, don't be shy to ask questions. There's always going to be something new that you don't know, and it's going to be fascinating, and everyone's going to learn together. So I think don't be afraid to ask questions. Number two is, if you're looking to, I mean, there is so much, as I mentioned before, there's so much literature out there now. So by now you can just read up about projects. You can read up about the benefits of the technology itself, but actually practicing and actually actually implementing something in real life is going to be very different, and that's where you should not hesitate to get in touch. So that's something that we help with. We help to facilitate workshops. We put you to get in touch together with developers, people that have been working in the space, and help you to build real projects. And so I think that's so get involved with communities that are actually active in the space, and that's going to increase your learning quite a few fold.
Absolutely, that's a really great advice, especially to those kids and talented kids that I know as well in St. Louis. They have a lot of students when it comes to the engineering department, IT department. So I believe that this is the right time as well for them to start learning and start asking questions about this technology itself. And when they started to ask more questions, they will start to learn more, and they can go ahead and visit your workshop. So, right now, how about the developers? Because you mentioned that you are also connected to a group of developers in the Philippines. Can you share us how you met these developers and what are the activities that you're planning to do together?
Yeah, so every year we actually host a hackathon together with one of our developer communities. So we do work very closely with a couple of different developer communities. The most prominent one is Block Devs. And these guys actually, they run workshops usually on a quarterly basis. And the topic will kind of change depending on whatever their focus is on. And so what we encourage is, well, we're not sure whether the hackathon will happen this year, simply because hackathons are quite difficult to run when you're not in person. If you can't mentor people, when they're right in front of you. So the distance actually poses quite a challenge, and that's something that we're discussing right now, is whether the hackathon will still continue and we'll try to make it remote, and or should we postpone it until we can actually meet in person. But for now, yeah, there is an active developer community out there. So again, don't hesitate to get in touch with us, and we'll put you in touch with them.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much for sharing all of this stories, advices, tips to all of our viewers out here. And you know what you guys are doing, I mean, it's full support. I really love what you guys are doing. I'm also following blockchain spaces all the time. And if ever that once this COVID situation has been over, it would be nice that we can do another pizza day, and then we can invite the other new technopreneurs or new startups or even new crypto fanatics out there to start joining or going to your spaces, right?
Definitely, we would love that.
Yeah. Okay, Peter, thank you so much for all of this call, conversation, and topics. It's very insightful, very rewarding, and it's really empowering. It's really inspiring as well. It will inspire a lot of entrepreneurs and Filipinos out here to learn more about the technology and what blockchain is all about. So thank you so much for sharing your experiences.
You're most welcome, and thank you very much for hosting us and having us on.
You're welcome. So please, guys, don't forget, share this video, like and share below, follow their pages in Blockchain Space, and check out their website, subscribe to all of their activities and events. So don't forget to do that right now. And that is what I'm suggesting as a good advice for everyone. It's free and you don't need to pay for the knowledge itself. All right. So guys, thank you so much. And once again, we will be back with the next following speakers and the next following days. So see you soon, and thank you, Peter, and you have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Veronica.